Please note, these videos are old and outdated. This video in particular is one I regret making. Back when I started on YouTube, I used to make negative, overly nitpicky, critical videos just because I believed that was somehow the only way to be entertaining. For some reason I thought unless I was being negative, no one would watch the videos. I don't agree with most of the things I said in this video. And I actually kind of love Super Paper Mario. But anyway. Once in a blue moon, when all is least expected, a developer creates what is known as the best thing ever. For some reason, however, this is usually the mark of a stagnant end. Everything that comes after the best thing ever, for some reason that's completely beyond me, seems to be a step down. Super Paper Mario is a fine example. Let's look back on this series, shall we? Paper Mario for the N64 was a witty RPG that took place in an unexplained world of walking cardboard. While that may not sound great on paper, it turned out to be an unexpected classic with more than one trick up its sleeve. I don't think anyone who got their hands on this game knew what to expect. It was funny, lengthy, and 100% grand all the way through. But what people truly weren't expecting was the sequel, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. What a solid masterpiece. I could care less about the critical or financial reception. I think this is one of the finest games I've ever played in my life. An opinion, no doubt, and a shaky one at that. But when I turn to my bookshelf and peer down the notably small collection of GameCube hits, no other title says genius like Paper Mario 2. Why do I have two of them? I call this opinion shaky because the game isn't for everyone. It isn't perfect and is primarily narrative-driven. It's great in the way that Psychonauts was great. Brilliant humor, constant surprises, and abundant creativity. Every character and setting was lovingly crafted. Every chapter of the story told with quirky yet tender love and care. We'll touch on all that someday in the future. So what is Super Paper Mario? Well, it's the third game in the series. It's an adventure that's out of this dimension, cries the box art. Mario is now 2D, with the amazing ability to sometimes flip into 3D, which makes the game look like the older ones for a few seconds.
Innovation.
When we first heard about this gimmick, how did we react? Well, those who'd never played a Paper Mario game probably thought, that's innovative. Those of us who had played a Paper Mario game thought, that's innovate. In the realms of Nintendo land, the word innovation is usually a thing to cower from these days. So what's the trouble with Super Paper Mario? Well, the trouble with Super Paper Mario is that it's both good and bad. It's got a wacky, fun story with a lot of the artistic charm still totally present. A lot of the weird, untamed humor, too, which we'd come to expect from the series. For example, while an ordinary Mario game starts out with Princess Peach getting kidnapped by Bowser, Super Paper Mario starts out with Princess Peach and Bowser getting married, both of them completely oblivious to what's going on around them.
More spoilers ahead.
The game also features such things as talking doors, blue-colored apples, Earthbound references, a fat chameleon with unhealthy internet obsessions, space travel, and a giant shape-shifting spider that spends the game pretending to be a little girl. It's definitely worth playing. But with all these funky ideas at bay, the game is extraordinarily disappointing. The role-playing adventure and exploration mechanics have all been replaced with classic platforming and stupid dimension flipping. The flip gimmick is mildly entertaining for about an hour, after which it starts to become an anxious hassle of obsessive-compulsive proportions. You see, the indie game Fez got this gimmick right. Unlike SPM, the mechanic feels natural and stays interesting. Fill fish, yes. Intelligent systems, no. On top of this, the game is shorter, narrower, and very thin. Not because it's mostly in 2D, but because little effort is put into, well, just about everything. The characters are dumbed down, the challenge is dumbed down, the story is dumbed down, the settings are smaller, the art is lazier, and for some reason, the RPG elements feel weakly not at home. Yeah, a few of the RPG elements have been kept intact, like item shops, inns, money, experience points, and a few towns to explore. But this is all sort of useless and feels like a silly experiment gone wrong. Why? Because it doesn't fit in. The art direction is also troublesome. Some chapters of the story are so lazily thrown together they make me cringe, while others are funny and outlandish. The game jerks and shifts in quality from beginning to end with the consistency of a poorly animated children's cartoon. The plot takes place around the hub world Flipside, a small town in between dimensions. While Flipside is nowhere near as cool as the second game's Rogueport or the original's Toad Town, one thing that makes it pretty unique is the parallel city, Flopside. It's basically the exact same town, except all the people are depressed and pissed off. The story involves Mario, accompanied by a pixelated butterfly, and his quest to defeat Count Bleck, a man who plans to not only destroy the world, but all worlds. It's got this tacky dimension theme strung around the entire framework, which seems to be less a gimmick and more an excuse. That is, an excuse for the developers to make everything in the game look glitchy, sloppy, and completely unorganized. Squares, squares, and squares. Beautiful people. 7th generation, folks. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is character design. Now, the visuals aren't really ugly. They look nice in 2D. You've got grassy grass, dry ruins again, pixel paradise, and I found it. Swamp level. But the moment you flip into 3D, the visuals turn to vomit. Again, Philfish, yes. Pixelated butterflies, no. The first chapter of the game is alright, but 10 minutes into it, you'll find that it's really just retreading the steps of the very first game. With smaller shoes. You've got the same stupid palm tree puzzle, the same goofy elder, the same desert ruins, the same Mario falling asleep while people talk joke, and no effort put into any of it. Take a look at this scene where the ancient ruins open up. Oh, that was cool. Almost as cool as when this happened on the N64. And then you fight this dragon boss. Oh, that's cool. Almost as cool as when this happened on the GameCube. Luckily, after the first chapter, the rest of the game is not very much the same, which is good, but it never feels right. It's hard to explain, but to me, this just isn't a Paper Mario game. The gameplay, now primarily action-based, gets bland very quickly. You'd think the platforming would at least live up to Mario standards, but it's more repetitious than anything. It's not that I don't like the levels, it's the action itself. Inspired by the side-scrolling Bowser bits from the second game, packed with, I wish it was nostalgic at this point, nostalgia, and yet still not very fun. There are some great settings packed with exploration, like the land of the Cragnons, where you've got to rescue a bunch of cavemen enslaved by evil talking flowers, or Castle Bleck, the black and white fortress at the end of the game. Not to mention, you get to play as not only Mario, but Peach, Luigi, and Bowser too. There's a lot of intrigue, surprises, and laughs to keep the game going, plenty of unexpected references and pleasing satire. But this strength illustrates a massive misstep. Super Paper Mario is a joke. It feels like a parody of Paper Mario rather than a sequel. The Thousand Year Door was both contortedly funny and shockingly epic. Super Paper Mario is less than either. Let me illustrate my point by showing you the 6th chapter, a pathetic gameplay lengthening scheme that does nothing more than illustrate a sad example of utter laziness. Mario ventures to a rural Asian-themed setting called Sammer's Kingdom. Now, before I get into this, let me explain that each chapter is segmented into fourths: 6-1, 6-2, 6-3, and 6-4. In 6-1, you're expected to defeat 100 warriors, kind of like the Glitz Pit, only crappier. You only have to fight 20 of the warriors, most of which are pretty identical. You make your way through a setting that is literally copy-pasted 20 times, and that's Sammer's Kingdom. Seriously, the end. After the 20th battle, Count Bleck appears and begins to destroy the entire world. So, Chapter 6-2, nothing but a short boss battle, and the chapter ends. Count Bleck destroys the entire world, and you return to find absolutely nothing left. So, what happens in Chapter 6-3? Another boss battle, and a short one, might I add. Chapter 6 End. That's it. Chapter 6-4, if it exists at all, is basically Chapter 7-1, but at this point I'm blabbering. Perhaps you disagree with me on all this, and if you do, allow me to illustrate audio proof of this game's laziness. Listen here to the main theme of Super Paper Mario. Now, with that in mind, listen to the main theme of Paper Mario 2. Yeah, a 7th generation console, and even the music is low quality. So what have we got here, friends? We've got Mario, a butterfly, a turtle, a Peach, Luigi, and little shapes with funny personalities. A carelessly hurried game that tries to mix up the formula but ends up not getting ahead but falling behind. It's what this game was missing that makes it difficult for me to love. It's experimental, funny, and amusing, but undoubtedly the worst Paper Mario game to date. And what even is that thing? It makes me repetitive, rushed, disappointing. Worth playing at least once, but never in place of its predecessors. Play this game. Or this game. Also, the final boss sucks. Remember, I try to make at least one video every week. So, if you enjoyed this one, be sure to subscribe. And check out my other 2 shows below.
We'll be revisiting Paper Mario later on.